Hmm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installation of One Hit Wonderful. For those of you who might be new watching this for the first time, this is the show where myself and my esteemed co-host Renee Yaworski. Renee, make your presence known. Take a bow, take a
Hello,
curtsy. There
hello.
he is. So this is the show where me and that lady right there sit down with a
Mhm.
favorite musician or poet of ours, and we have them play or recite a piece, and we also have that person talk about the piece. We break down the piece with them, and then we go in depth. We take a look at that guest's background, musically or poetically, and we find out who their influences are, how they got their start in what they do, the projects they've had a hand in, etc., etc. And like last week with Jamie Bennett, this week's guest is another darling of Socially Distant Fest, which is the sister group to TMN and KMH, where you are seeing this right now. And she, like Renee, is another one of New York's finest, though I forget where exactly in New York she hails from. But at any rate, she is one of New York's finest, and she is our guest tonight. Ladies and
Yay!
gentlemen,
Drum roll,
drum roll.
please.
Emily Jane Roberts is here,
Come on
aka
down.
EJ,
Hi.
aka EJR. Hello, Emily.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me.
So, Emily, it's a pleasure to have you on the show tonight. I know you have been wowing the crowds in SDF and elsewhere for a long time now, and it's gonna be just a beautiful night of music in the Tardan verse. So, EJR, if you are loaded and ready, hit us
Locked
with a
and
song.
loaded.
Yes.
Okie dokie.
See, that was a case of my mind blanking. But anyway,
I already did.
fire away.
All right. To say the silly things I pray. Why can't we get what we want when we want it? There's much too much standing in the way. I'm down, she'll never get on it. Wash over me like a wave. You're not mine to have, not even to hold for 1 minute or so. We both feel bad, but the urge to reach out is a force to be left. You wash over me like a wave. When you get the hot tub, it feels like magic. Watching as the stars cross seems so tragic. If there's a way, it's one that I can't find. This slow motion feels pretty urgent. I'm tired of a past clowns and not virgin. Ever try to get a man to read your mind? All the time I smoke, cigarettes, smoke, cigarettes. That's you. To you, to you. They can put a man on the why can't I get a hold of these feelings? When you get the hot tub, feels like magic. Watching as the skies grow seems so tragic. If there's a way it's one that I can't find. The slow motion feels pretty urgent. Tired of a bounce, bouncing out virgin. Never try to get a man to read your mind. All the time it's smoke, signal, smoke, signal. Keep on sounding smoke, signal, smoke, signals. Get to you, to you, to
Wow. So that was Smoke Sick. Very beautiful song that you've get. Has anyone ever told you that you sound like a little bit like Melissa Etheridge when you sang? I could hear it.
No, that's a new one.
I could totally hear her singing that song when you were doing it. So tell
Well, it would be
us
if she would like do it for me and I can get the money.
So tell us a little bit about that song's origins. When did you write it? What is it about? And what mindset were you in when you wrote the song?
Oh boy. Wow. Okay. Well, I wrote it. I believe this was during the pandemic. Yeah, it was during the pandemic. I know that for sure. And I'd been wanting to. I had a certain someone on my mind a whole lot, and it was kind of a frustrating situation. I didn't really know what was going. The timing was never right. I knew there was something there, but I was just feeling frustrated. So I wrote that song. So, and yeah, that's.
So let's start at the top of things here, right at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Where in this wide world of ours were you born?
I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you told me this earlier, which kind of threw me for a loop. I thought you were a lifelong dyed-in-the-wool New Yorker, but no, you were born in Philly. How long did you spend in Philly? Like from when to when?
Oh, well, okay. I lived there until I was about 18. Then I lived in Idaho for a year, went to college there, and then I decided that was not what I wanted to be doing. So I came back, I've just been back and forth a whole lot. I lived in Seattle and Los Angeles, and I've lived in a few places, but I always come back. I always end up back in Philly at some point. So,
so you're a bit like Jake Allen in that he went to Abilene, Texas, lived in Abilene like 5 or 6 times in his life. We had him on. It was just like a never-ending cycle of just him going back to Abilene. So let's talk about when you were growing up in Philly. What types of music, like, first of all, what was your first real introduction to music? What was the first bands or singers that you really came to love?
The first thing that I have a memory of is watching my dad and my uncle play in a band called the 1400s. It was a rockabilly band, actually. And so that was where that was the first music that I was really around. As far as other people go, I just remember just stuff that my parents were listening to.
Which was
Joni Mitchell. My mom loved Joni Mitchell, and she loved U2 as well. my dad listened to like the Cars and a lot of like older country stuff. So
Oh,
he loved he loved a lot of like the old country and rockabilly and stuff like that. So
oh,
that's and he's also the one who introduced me to Patsy Cline, and that's where I first knew it. I wanted to be a singer.
wow. And what
But
age
he also
would you?
introduced me to, like Blondie and the
Mhm,
Pretenders and stuff like that too.
mhm.
So
So, how old would you have been when you first when you first had this notion planted in your mind that you wanted to be a singer?
well, it's a little embarrassing because I don't know how old I was when this came out, but
Oh,
I remember the exact moment, and it was
wow.
when I saw a Madonna video on MTV, and it was
Wow.
Borderline, her song Borderline, and I was like, that is
Mm,
exactly it. Like that's absolutely what I want to do.
my
Um,
gosh.
but as far as like a singer, um, it was people. It was actually first of all, it was mostly like musical theater that's how I kind of got into singing.
Hmm.
So that was like that's what I really wanted to do for when I was first like learning to be a singer.
Yeah. So you leave Philly, uh, you leave Philly, and then you bounce around. You mentioned going from Idaho, living in Seattle for a while, living in LA. You've lived in some very rich music areas, or all over the country, Seattle, LA, and now where you are there in New York. Um,
Hmm.
how has those places influenced you musically?
Um, well, honestly, I would say I guess LA influenced me a bit as far as like I guess more like pop and rock music.
Mhm.
I was in a band there
Oh wow.
and wrote
Tell
some of
us.
my earlier songs there. Um, but as far as like the influence, I don't think the scenes really influenced me that much at all, except for maybe in LA a little bit. I always had what I really loved um, bouncing around in my head. I just kind of, I was just always holed up making music somewhere, so
Yeah.
I didn't like get out too much, to be honest.
Tell us a bit about the band you were in LA. How long did that go for?
That was about 5 years,
Oh wow.
and it was called Hyperiales, and I was actually in a relationship with the drummer, and we wrote songs together, and it just never really got off the ground because you know the guy I was in it with was just really, he just wanted to record everything first, and
Oh.
everything is a real perfectionist. So we never really ended up playing out live or anything. We just recorded. Um,
Oh wow.
but that is where, I don't see it as a loss though, because that's where I really learned how to be a songwriter.
Mm.
Was from working with this guy and just really working on it. And it's also where I like really honed my singing skills. Like I had studied since I was in like ninth grade, but I worked with a vocal coach there, and she really like hammered on me. I mean, she was tough. She was really tough, but I had a major breakthrough as far as singing went, and I'm very grateful to her for that.
Mm.
But that's where I really learned how to be a musician,
And you're
for
continuing
sure.
you're continuing to spread your musical light to this day, and I am so very grateful for that. So grateful for that. So let's talk about again, talk about some of the various places you've lived. Uh what drove you to leave the wonderful city of Philadelphia for Idaho? First of all, where in Idaho was this?
Rexburg, Idaho.
Oh
It
wow,
wasn't that far from
it's out
Jackson
there.
Hole, Wyoming. Yeah. To be honest, it was a college that I grew up a Mormon, and
Oh,
it was a Mormon college, and so that's why I went there basically. Now it's called BYU Idaho, but at the
aha.
time it was just something that I had been. It was a religious thing.
Hmm.
Yep.
I bet it. How long did it take you before the yearning for home just completely overtook you, or did it at all?
Um, I realized when I went back for the second year, for my sophomore year, I
Mhm.
realized that my heart was definitely still in Philly at that point because I had been
Mm.
working for a radio station and a rock radio, classic rock radio station, and I just started like really kind of getting into like that scene, and I realized that's kind of what I wanted to be doing.
Mm. So
So I
you
went home.
guys. Mhm. So how long did you stay in Philly the second time?
Oh, I don't. It was a few years, I would say.
Okay.
I would say it was about, yeah, yeah.
So the next move after this, where did that take you? What was the next move after your second stint in
That was
Philly?
the that was L.A.
Oh, so you get
That
the
was
band.
L.A.
Wow. So you get the band there in LA. You're there for at least 5 years, and you just cultivate all this great stuff musically in Los Angeles that still serves you in good stead to this day. And
Mm-hmm.
I recently did an interview with another Philadelphia native, Hal Aaron Cohen, and he was talking about when he left Philly in the '70s to go for Southern California, Los Angeles, in that area. And he said it was horribly difficult to go to leave there after he'd been there for so long. Did you sort of have that same thing when you left LA? Like, was it so difficult to leave?
It was kind of hard to leave, but at the same time, we were in a position where we like had to get out of the house we're in, and it was this big dramatic
Mm-hmm.
thing that was happening. So in a sense, we were like, good riddance, you know. And then we went from there to Pennsylvania very briefly, but not Philadelphia. And
Oh, okay.
then that didn't really that actually it does kind of factor in to the story
Oh,
because when we moved from LA to Pennsylvania, that's when I wrote the song Silver Lake that I play that
oh,
people seem to like a lot. I
yeah.
wrote that, and then we moved out to Seattle.
Wow. Um, you mentioned Silver Lake, and I know that was one of the ones you were wanting to play. For the well, here's the thing: what went on behind the scenes as we were setting this up? Emily kept changing her mind on the song that she wanted to have featured on this thing, which I don't blame her for. She's got a lot of great songs, and since we're going to go an hour here, we have a lot of we have a lot of time. Would you mind playing Silver Lake for us?
I would not mind at all.
Go for it
All right,
if you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
I 23% okay. The rest of me just came away in the frozen rain. Yeah, you and me fucking up religiously. strange. 'Cause now we know for we've ever been. Maybe we're struggling just to save our day. As it fades away, 'cause I'm trying so hard. No, we never should have come this far. I just want the time to celebrate in between us. It's a good thing, and why can feel us. Oh, from the pain we face. Oh. What are we doing here? Under this thing in here, don't you hesitate. Baby, don't you wait, 'cause I'm trying so hard. Now we never should have come this far. I just want the time back to celebrate. Yeah, 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 yeah. I just want the time to celebrate. 23%
Dang. Beautiful, beautiful song there. And I've joined again by my esteemed co-host, Renee Jaworski. And what I'm also going to do now is open up the questions to the audience. If you have anything to ask EJR, please let those comments fly.
Oh boy.
And we will.
There's going to be some good ones.
EJR is like, I know the crowd that's watching this. So Renee, I know you have some questions for EJR as well.
Oh yeah, I want to know, first of all, talk a little bit about Silver Lake. Okay, just some of those lyrics that seem to resonate with a lot of your friends and fans. You go pretty deep in that song, and I just want to know, what are your favorite lyrics from that song, and what are you comfortable? I know that, like, with songwriting, sometimes we hold them close to our hearts. We don't want to share everything, but what would you like to share? What would you like people to know about that song?
Let me add one thing to that. I would like to know what are some of the favorite lyrics you've ever written.
Oh, should I answer the first question first?
Go for it.
As far as Silver Lake goes, I think, let me think. I don't know, actually. That's pretty tough. Yeah. I don't know. In Silver Lake, I don't really know. I know the one that people seem to talk about is the I'm 23% okay part. Everybody seems to say something about that, but as far as that song goes, I don't know. I mean, I feel really good about the lyrics of that song, in that I feel like I expressed what was going on at the time and where I was coming from. But nothing really like stands out necessarily on that.
Yeah, somebody did mention that 23% okay. And I wanted to ask you where that came from. Do you remember writing that line? Why was it so specific? Why was it like an odd number? Where did you come up with that? It's so cool, and it does stand out to people, you know.
I just remember thinking that I was really like not okay. I was like a little okay, but I wasn't like great. So it's just kind of, I believe it's just a number I came up with. I think it just sort of, sometimes with songwriting, I just kind of get them. I don't know where the ideas come from. It's not necessarily a thing that it's not like a thought process necessarily. Sometimes they just pop into my head.
Right. Lorraine wanted to know, what are your future musical goals and projects?
I really want to make a record. I really, really want to record. I want to make a record. I've been saying this for a few years now, and it really needs to happen.
Well, Renee Jaworski's recording one
So.
right now with some folks. Get in touch with her folks.
It's exciting,
Really?
you know, and it's cool. It's kind of daunting, you know, when you do that, because like for me, I was in bands and then I'm doing it now as like a solo thing, which is weird for me. And I kind of, you know, so sometimes you just have to, I feel like at this point, what people told me was to just get out of perfectionism and just get something, even if it's not perfect, what I want, because I feel like I get into perfectionism. So I think you have someone else here. I don't know who this is, but they said, when will you get more of the music out? I guess that's asking about the record. Yep, someone said you need to make a record, and then someone else said you're gonna make a record. You're like the audience is demanding this.
Getting their ESP working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to, honestly, I mean, making a record, you got to figure out where the funds are coming from. So there's that aspect of it. And then you have to find someone who has a passion for your music and who you feel like would take it in a direction that that you would be cool with, like it's kind of shares your vision a little bit, which is kind of tricky to do because, you know, it's your music, it's my music. And so when I find somebody, and I have found some people, I've never found people so enthusiastic about my music as in the Socially Distant Fest. I mean,
Yes.
I have really met some like amazing musicians who I think very highly of and who love my music, and that's just really an honor. So,
as I've said before, it's been groups like SDF and KMH and God knows what, a quarantine karaoke for the love of music, et cetera, that is just, this is the best thing that's ever come out of a pandemic, because now we have forged so many of these awesome, incredible soul ties with so many creative, incredible, loving people. And it's just something, it's life-saving. That's all I can say. It's life-saving.
Yeah, it definitely was that for me. It's hard. It's hard to like say. It's how important it has been for.
Renee, any more questions for you?
Yeah, I wanted to know, Emily, I wanted to know about your process. Like when you go to sit down, do you write songs over a long period of time? Do you have like a notebook that you carry around for ideas? Or do you just sit down and they just come naturally to you? How do you get inspired, and how do you know a song is really done?
I am definitely a carrier of ideas for like I've got lyrics that I've used that have been with me for years. So I have ones that it's something I really want to use. It just comes to me. I don't really know where it's coming from, and I do write it down. I write stuff down in a book. I've got a few of them actually that I write stuff down in, and then sometimes I'll like put stuff on my phone. It's not altogether the most organized process, but yeah. And then some just like stay in my head. They just stick with me in my head, and they just want to become songs. So I try to get around to doing that.
Yeah, that reminds me. You were talking about having song lyrics in your head for years and years before they actually manifest themselves into songs. Let me ask you this. What's the longest you've ever had a song fragment in your head before it saw the light of day?
Um, oh wow. Um, I would say somewhere around 10 years actually for the oldest.
Wow.
For the oldest, some of them are like that old. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Holy cow.
Somebody is saying, Emily, I mean this with the highest esteem. You remind me of Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's, not just your voice, but the depth of your lyrics. Were you
Yes.
influenced by the Go-Go's at all?
Well, it's funny because yes, the Go-Go's
Ah.
were my dad loved the Go-Go's, and they were one of the bands that he introduced me to. For sure, I
Oh,
loved I
wow.
loved the
Wow.
Go-Go's.
So it might not be a coincidence then. I mean, so who are the performers? I know you mentioned Madonna and Borderline and how that changed your life. What was it about that video and Madonna that resonated with you? And what traits do you think funneled over into your influence? I mean, I know it's different, but some kind of connection there for you.
It was, I think it was just her style, just her, she was just so cool looking to me. I really think that's what it boiled down to. I've never, I don't feel like I've really taken her singing and songwriting as an influence very much, except for the fact that I continue to just love pop music. And
Mm.
so I still love that song. But she was
Yeah.
just happened to be the first person that was like doing something musical that I was like, yes, that I want to do something musical too.
Right. Are
Wow.
you what kind of a kid were you? Like how would you have described your personality? Were you someone who was into performance? Were you confident? How would you have described yourself as you were growing up?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I definitely got very into lip syncing and putting on little shows and things like that. I definitely did a fair amount of that for sure. And yeah, I definitely I definitely had anxiety issues at times. I went through some of that stuff, but I really I was pretty performance oriented, and any chance I got, I would try and perform in front of
Wow.
Wow.
people.
Okay.
I just
Where did
did
that
so much. I
confidence?
just felt like I can remember from a very young age feeling like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow. Okay. So
Nice.
you just had that confidence. Somebody's asking, do you dance?
Do I dance? Not really. I um I don't really dance. I mean, I'm not a horror. I've never taken really dance classes. I did take some dance classes because I was a gymnast.
Oh,
So
wow.
there was some dancing involved with that. And I was told I was very graceful. But as far as like dancing and I did, I've done a little bit, I guess, but nothing that would make me want to incorporate it into my whole thing here.
So let's pick back up uh, on your cross country treks here. I know you go back to Pennsylvania. First of all, where in Pennsylvania were you that time?
I when I wrote Silver Lake, it was in a town called Easton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah. That's
It
by
was another
Allentown.
river town. Uh,
Hmm.
like, yeah, it is. It is. And that's kind of where, I don't know, I guess my boyfriend at the time got in a bad car accident, and that's kind of
Ooh.
where our relationship started to go south. So that's why Silver Lake came
Mm.
about.
So you go from PA, you go to Seattle. Was Seattle your first choice, or was there other options beckoning?
At that time, we really wanted to. We actually were living. We went to live on this place. It's like a little island right outside of Seattle. It's called Vashon
wow.
Island,
Wow.
and like, you have to take a ferry to get there. And yeah, it was really beautiful and kind of, it was a great place to, if you wanted to be secluded, it was a great place to be. And but yeah, we just went there because friends of ours lived there, and musician friends actually,
Mhm.
and we just decided to go there. I guess there was a fair amount of trying to make life better by just living somewhere else, hoping that would like save our relationship or something like that. I don't know. It just really, we just loved it there, and we just thought, why not, you know?
Mhm. Sandy had a good question. She was asking, how do your kids feel about you going live? I think Sandy might be looking for a little bit of that
My
match.
My daughter is totally, she thinks it's like cool. She doesn't really think it's like, oh, it's so great that mom's going live, but she doesn't hate it. She respects it because she knows this is just what I do. And, she's got two musician parents, so she's really just unimpressed with, um, being performing in front of people and all that stuff. It's just all she knows. So she's been
Mhm.
seeing us perform from, since birth, basically.
Wow. I was just about to ask. I was just about to ask, though you may have answered it there just a bit. Has any of your kids shown music interest at all from watching the two of you?
Uh, well, Lula, she actually is one of those really annoying people who are just, you can tell they could just pick up anything and start playing it.
Oh,
And she's got a beautiful, really great voice, but she does not want to be a musician. I mean, she plays
oh
flute in
wow.
band. She played saxophone for a while, but I tried to get her into guitar and I tried to get her into piano, and she
Wow.
just is not interested. So whether she decides she's interested later on in life, I don't know. But I gave it a shot anyway.
Wow. So, talk about first of all, how long did you spend in the Seattle area, and what came after Seattle?
Um, oh, Seattle. I guess I lived there a few years, and then after that came back to Philly.
Okay, and this is now
So,
the third stint there. How long were you there for
yeah,
the third time around?
not for too long. Maybe tops a year. I went
Oh
to
wow. Okay.
massage therapy school,
Oh. Okay.
and so living. I was living with my parents, and then I started a relationship with my daughter's father, and then I moved back out to LA.
Oh wow. So I didn't know there was a second LA stint in there. Was
There
it as
was two,
s-
two LA.
so talk a little bit about the second stint in LA. Were you as involved musically the second time as you were the first time?
It was just kind of different. I wasn't in the band at that time.
Mm.
Um, that had all ended when my relationship finally fell apart.
Ooh.
But I did a lot of singing backup on people's records, like recording stuff. I started doing a lot of that.
Mhm.
Started singing like demos for people, like songwriters who wanted to get their songs heard, so they'd have me sing it.
Mhm.
I did a couple like pilots. I sang the theme song. I did a little bit of that for short lived. very brief television shows. I did stuff like that.
Wow. I didn't know you dove off into that path. You know, doing backing vocals for
Yeah.
folks and doing TV themes. That is awesome. So amazing.
Yeah,
So
it was a lot of fun.
Fred Bowman wants to know, who did you sing backup for?
I'm sorry, who did I what?
Fred Bowman is wanting to know, who did you sing backup vocals for?
Oh, well, I've sung backup vocals for a lot of people that you would not know of. But I've sung backup vocals um, for Soul Asylum. I don't know
Oh,
many
wow.
people are familiar with that band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on one of their
Holy cow.
records. My ex-husband is a musician, and I've sung on one of his records. I sang quite a bit on that. I recommend people giving it a listen, because it's if they're interested in what I did with that, it's pretty. I did a lot of backup singing on that record. It's pretty cool. Pretty proud of the work I did.
As you rightfully should be. So, how long
I bet I
did
should
this?
probably say what album it is.
Yeah, go for it. I'm glad you reminded me.
It's Tommy Stinson. One Man Mutiny is the name of the record.
One Man Mutiny. And Renee, once we get wrapped with this, please link the folks to that album in the description of this. Tommy Stinson, One Man Mutiny, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. We'll definitely keep that in mind going forward. So, how long did this second stint in Los Angeles go for?
It really wasn't very long at all. It was like maybe 6 months, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Because what happened was I got pregnant, and then my ex-husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, was on the road a lot. He was a rock musician, and he was going to be gone a lot, and I didn't really have any family in LA, so I decided to go back to Philly to be pregnant there and have my baby there, so that I could, well, because I wasn't really going to have any like kind of family or friend support in LA. So I went back to Philly.
So how long were you there that time in Philadelphia?
I would say about 10 months, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back out to LA after that.
See the parallel in you and Jake Allen bouncing back and forth. Of course, with Jake Allen, it was Abilene and Georgia. So, but it's all good. It's all good. You're a constant traveler.
Me and Jake.
So you went back to LA. How long did that one? I hate to sound like a broken record, but how long was that stint for?
That's okay. It was about a year.
Okay.
I was there with my infant daughter, and my ex-husband too. But he was on the road a lot. So then we just ended up coming back to Philly, and then we moved to Hudson, New York, where I am now. When my daughter was about 2.5 when we moved to where I am now.
And how long ago was this that you moved to Hudson?
I guess a little over 10 years, somewhere in the 10-year-ish. Yeah, here I am.
Hudson, New York. So it seems like there's so much talent along that thruway, because we've got obviously the Russ Brothers there in New York City. We've got you up the line in Hudson. We've got Julie Gilman, who's not a musician, but a big supporter of everybody on SDF and otherwise. She's up by Albany. Of course, Renee is in Syracuse, and we've got Julio Morales, another wonderful musician, in, I believe, Buffalo. And God only knows who might be in between. Fertile state for talent.
Right.
Renee, you are muted.
Grant and Amity Grant and Aria
Yep,
Dawn
Watertown.
are up, and Jay Link is also in the Northwest as well. So
Northwest.
yeah, no, I mean Northeast. I
There
think
you
he's
go.
in
Mhm.
Connecticut.
Yeah,
but it's close to
Amity
New
is
York,
up. Amity's up by Watertown. Aria is holding the fort down in Ithaca. It's just, I'm just rambling at this point.
Well, I just wanted to say that I did post a link to the Amazon for Tommy Stinson's record, One Man Mutiny. And I was reading about it, and they said that Tommy was a founding member of the Replacements and also worked with Soul Asylum. So
Wow.
that's pretty huge. Like that's massively huge. Wow. And then also that he worked with was Guns N' Roses, did it say something like that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah, he was in Guns N' Roses when I met him, and he was in Guns N' Roses, like on tour with them for, I'm total in Guns N' Roses for about 13 years. So, yeah, that was interesting. It was I definitely got to have a lot of interesting experiences, many of them good ones. But yeah, I've been all around the world, and also, got to just have some funny experiences, basically. I'll leave it at that.
Well, those are major A-list bands. I mean, all three that we just listed there are major. So I guess,
Yeah.
what was it like being around those types of people, who are just constantly in the limelight? What was that like, and how did that affect how you feel about your own art and fame and all of that stuff? What did that teach you?
Honestly, it was very cool to meet. I've met a lot of really awesome artists and people through, actually, just being with the amount of time that I spent with my ex-husband. And some people that I really, really admired. And I don't know, during that time, I wasn't too focused on my own career, unfortunately. So I don't know. I mean, I would say there's been a couple times where I was sort of influenced by who was hanging around. But mostly I was just kind of doing the mom thing and trying to be a supportive girlfriend and wife and doing all that. But it was really, I've got some stories, I'll tell you that.
Oh, me. So, EJR, tell us a little bit about what the future might hold for you. I know you've talked about maybe recording an album in the not too distant future. Have you started sort of writing for that?
Yeah, I think I really want to. I mean, I really want to use the songs that I already have, and then I want to keep writing for it. And who knows, maybe I'll end up ditching the older ones. But for right now, I really feel like they need a home. They deserve to have a record to be on. So I've definitely started writing them. Like many years ago, started writing them.
Hey, there's no time limit on doing these things right. And you have most certainly done them right up to now. And I cannot wait for you to commence writing on and recording that album. And I will definitely purchase it once you get it hammered out. So Even though the judge has had LASIK surgery today, he is here. And he is here to give his assessment. Hello,
You had
Judge.
to bring that up. All right. Coming out of the gate, before the show began, Jonathan was referring to you as EJR, and others throughout the show are referring to you as EJR, Miss Roberts.
Mhm.
This is kind of akin to Kentucky Fried Chicken becoming KFC because it was cooler. I hope you don't mind if I am very old school, Judge. So I hope you don't mind if I just call you Emily.
Here's the thing though. EJR is not her primary nickname.
That's fine.
Her primary nickname is EMJ.
Confuse me more, Jonathan. Thank you. I think when Jonathan compared you to Miss Etheridge, and later someone compared you to the Go-Go's, I think what they were trying to convey was that listening to you now, we were feeling the same kind of, I don't know, energy and talent that agents were probably hearing when they first heard Etheridge, Morissette, Miss Crow, and others. And sounding and feeling, well, I, for one, just want to say I think you have a wonderful future if you meet the right people who could get your career jump-started again. And I hope that is the case. I really do. I think you do have a bright career and future ahead of you. You're a very talented young girl. Patsy Cline, Blondie, Pretenders, all good influences in music.
Oh, yes.
Madonna,
Thank you.
LA is a dangerous place in that they will sell what they think sells, which might not be exactly what you're about. So I assume New York is probably a better fit for you and your talent and what you do. I'm going to skip that next note about Jonathan. Obviously, Silver Lake is the viewer's choice for this show. Many people were chiming in during that song. Many were glad that you played it, myself included. The daunting record session. What do I record? Who pays for it? Hopefully, some rich socialite who watches Socially Distant Fest will recognize your talent and appreciate good music, and will see you and invest in you in the future for music posterity. That's what I'm hoping. I've become a gushing fan, haven't I? My guess from listening to your interview here is that selling your songs to another established artist, not such a good idea for you. I'm thinking no. Hold them for yourself. Keep them for yourself.
No.
The island near Seattle sounds delightful. I have been to Harstein Island up in that area. Very peaceful, very nice nature, beautiful rocky shores, and it's there's a place in between Washington and Vancouver that's just really peaceful and delightful. And I'm digressing again. It's probably a great place to write music, is what I was going to say. Give Lulu time. She will learn to appreciate music and maybe pick up the guitar or piano later. It's really good that you don't force it. The fact that other songwriters want you to record their songs speaks volumes to your talent and what you can do.
Yes.
As so many of our friends are up in the New York area, I just want to say, and somebody else is listening, maybe someone should plan a dinner together. Just an idea. Some of you Social Distant Fest and KMH people that are up there in New York might want to meet one night, just for fun. I, for one, hope that we get to hear some of those great Soul Asylum and Guns N' Roses stories in the very near future on one of these shows here. So delightful to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, everybody, for tuning in and showing love. And EJR, if you have one more song in you, we would like to close with that, if that works with you.
Okay. Yeah, I could do that.
World's greatest cliffhanger right there.
You gotta let me. I gotta tune fast though.
Okay, go for it.
Let's make sure everybody's ears. All right. Let's see here. Get over it. Tough loving her. Shit. Things on the rooms with your gaze glare. How long you been standing there? The time it takes to stare. Distances between us. Come down hearts and rain. Summer, lady, so you gonna break down the door to run this war. Won't hurt anyone. If you knew I'd land, could you stay and be a man? If I was fighting rockets out of my hands, crying in my pillow. Come down hard spring rain in the summer. Hey, dear, so you wanna break down the door and run this war. Won't hurt anyone. What I'm supposed to be, or if it's coming down on me, would you hold me up for all I have to say? Spare this disaster. You come down hard, spring rain in the summer. Lady, so you wanna break down the door to run this war. Won't hurt anyone.
Wow. So that
Very,
was,
very nice.
what was the name of that? What is the name of that song that you just played?
I think there might be a delay.
Maybe.
Call me Kooky.
Yeah,
What was?
I think there is.
He was
Tell-
asking what was the name of the song you just
not.
performed?
Oh, that was called Deer in Headlights.
Aha.
Deer as in DEAR.
Mm-hmm. So Renee, if you will come back on,
That's
we
like
will
my
all
favorite
take.
song.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites of yours as well. So Renee, come back on, and we will all take a bow and bid the folks good night and ride off into the twilight. So again, thank you, EJR, for coming on the show tonight and being our guest and just thrilling the crowd and everyone here with your wonderful music. Thank you, Judge, for your fair and honest assessment of what went down tonight. And as always, thanks a million to this wonderful director, producer, angel on the earth, Renee Jaworski. We will see you for One Hit Wonderful next week when we have two guests on. We will have Lily Mae out of Las Vegas, and we will have Alice Nelson on as well from South Alabama. And it will be a wonderful, wonderful time, as it always is here on One Hit Wonderful. So to EJR, to the Judge, to Renee, and to all of you, good night, much love, God bless, and all the best. Take care.
All right.
1, 2, 3. One hit wonderful, one hit wonderful is tonight. Who will will be on and have their songs in the spotlight. Don't let a judge stern give you fright, because Renee will keep them in line. Wander into One Hit Wonderful, so wonderful because it's hosted by Jonathan Phipps.